Alright, so we're here at the NMRA race. Got our pit set up. It's kind of cool. These are all of our customers down all the way down there to where that white truck is. We got a few guys running Ford Muscle, which is like an index class, another car, an open car, two cars in open comp, some true street stuff. Check out my buddy Jeff's truck. This thing is freaking cool. It's got like an aluminum headed stock short block Windsor in it. He usually sprays it with like a 150, or I think he said he had 200 jets in it for the weekend, but we're just running it naturally aspirated. Goes like 10.0s, but she's definitely a looker. I love it. But yeah, so we are getting ready to roll into round one of qualifying. We've been making Alright, so this is the True Street cruise. This is a 30-mile cruise. It was some highway stuff, this and that. I'm going to talk about that for a second. I just wanted to chat about a couple other things while this was playing, because it's kind of a long thing that I wanted to show you guys. That last video, that last test pass there, you see the car didn't bump. I had to come off the trans brake and then foot brake, stage the thing, and get back on the trans brake. I was having some issues with it wouldn't bump consistently with transmission temp. So when it was cool temps, it wouldn't bump. When I'd make a pass and get back to the pits, it would bump fine once the trains was up the temp. So I made a table in Haltech to just show it was basically a duty cycle for the bump duration, or the bump duty cycle when I was on the bump button. And I did that over trans temp. And what we did is in the parking lot, in the pits at the track, I had one of the guys we were racing with set a magazine by the left front tire and then tell me when it would move X distance at X trans temps, right? So I let the car cool all the way down to ambient temperatures, and then I worked my way back up the temp range, playing with the duty cycle at each transmission temp from, I think, 120 is where I started, or 100 maybe is where I started, all the way up to 200 degrees. So interesting thing, but we were able to get that sorted out. But yeah, this is the cruise when the year before this was all back roads, and I was kind of anticipating that. What I hadn't done in this car is I haven't driven it on the highway with the Turbo 400 in the 410 rear gear. So I was a little nervous. Plus it was like 92 degrees out and 80% humidity. The weather was kind of miserable, if I'm honest. It was overwhelmingly hot and humid. But we jumped on the highway and it was doing okay. It was 33, 3400 most of the time. Going up a hill at one point, it was like 37 to maintain 70 mile an hour, which was she was singing pretty good. At the halfway point in this, we got off the highway and essentially made a U-turn and just went from going southbound to going northbound on the same exit. And there were stoplights getting off the highway and then getting back on the highway, and sitting in those stoplights, the car was like 229 degrees at one point. I was getting super nervous. I was thinking in my head, okay, at what point am I going to bail on this thing? And I kind of said 240 was my number, and it got 229. Once we got back on the highway and got back moving, the engine cooled right off. The train stayed 200, 210 pretty much the whole time, and was, by the time we cooled off in the 15-minute cooldown period and got back into the staging lanes, it was down to 176, I believe, and the engine was back down to 190. So we were doing okay. But yeah, we definitely ran into some temperature control issues during the hits. I don't have any in-car of that because my GoPro died. Thankfully, my wife, Jessie, took videos outside the car of all three passes. So here's those videos of that. It's kind of a cool perspective. She actually got a media pass. It was down track a bit. So check these out.
quick, goes 998.
All right, so those passes went well. We were going for the 10.0 index. Our first pass was a 10.02, which was close, you know, but me being greedy wanted to get a touch closer. So second pass, I grabbed the scramble button for 2 seconds after the 2-3 shift, and we went a 998. You heard the announcer say that over the PA system there. The third pass, so the car was starting to get hot. The trans temp, I believe, taking the third run was somewhere around 200 degrees when I staged. Engine temp was 205, I think, or 210, something like that when I staged. It was hot. I have the data for the trans temp. I don't normally record coolant temp on these things. I'm recording a bunch of other stuff, and I just don't have room for all the data. So I don't really know how hot it got. But based on memory, basically I left, and the car felt numb, felt really soft. And so I grabbed the button knowing that it was slow. And when I grabbed the button, I felt it pick up, but it didn't pick up like normal. So I let off the scramble button. I looked down and it was 220, I think 226, 227 degrees if I remember correctly, at about 1,000 foot. So I lifted, we coasted through to a 1015. Thankfully, that was still good enough for a 10.05 average and did get us the 10.0 index win for the class, which was our goal. So that was awesome. Cool story about that. I had a guy, you see in the videos, I was racing the silver Mustang or gray Mustang, whatever, 3-valve car. So they were running us like we'd make a pass, so we'd come back up the return road, and you just basically make a U-turn into the burnout box, right? And he came up to me after every pass and was talking to me about his slip. So I went a 10.02 the first pass. He went a 14.02. I went a 998. He went a 13.97. And then I went a 10.15 the third hit, and he went a 14.16 or something like that. We like mirrored each other perfectly, and we both won our indexes. It was super cool. He was a nice guy to talk to. He's actually a NHRA tech inspector from South Georgia Motorsports Park. I didn't get his name, but was super cool just to chat with him. That was kind of a fun thing to share. But yeah, so that was pretty much it for the True Street deal. Other than the car getting hot and that being a problem, again, it was extremely hot. It was so hot at one point the temperature display, the external temp display, in the OEM radio said it was 110 degrees external. Now I believe that was when we were making the round robining the car for the race for the True Street event. So I'm assuming that was somewhere close to what the in-cabin temperature was. I don't have the AC wired on the car. I was in my full gear, full dressed, fire suit, the whole 9 yards for 45 minutes. It was pretty miserable. I had to go sit in the motorhome for like 30 minutes afterwards just to cool off. It was a rough time, but we made it. We did it. So the next thing we did was we moved into running the open comp stuff. So that was the first thing. The True Street was Saturday. Open comp was first thing Sunday morning. I've got an in-car video of that. I lost, but it's neat to see anyway. So this guy was dialed, I believe, a 1215. I was dialed a 1015. I didn't really trust the car because it was moving around quite a bit with the air because the weather changes were so significant. And I bailed. I kind of gave it back to him at the other end. I should have ran it out the back door, but even if I would have ran it out the back door, he had me by enough on the tree that I wouldn't have been able to beat him. So here's an in-car of that. Alright, so as you can see I lost, and you can hear my disappointment in the car. Yeah, so that it is what it is. I honestly just don't bracket race enough to be very good at it. I do enjoy it, but I just don't do it enough to be very good at it anymore. I used to be good at it. I used to do it quite a bit. I ran a whole point season at a local track here probably 10 years ago now, but anyway, so after that we went into first round of bracket open. I got a time run and then first round of bracket open, and I lined up against I can't remember the guy's name, but he drives the yellow Ford Maverick. That's it's a Roush Motorsports Roush racing car, and you know he's won the Open Comp Championship like I think 2 times now, maybe 3, I don't remember. And of course I would get him first round. It was actually a really good race. I don't have any footage of it, unfortunately. I had him on the tree and the car just didn't run the number. It was 8th mile. I had a 6:55 I think on the window, and it went a 59 out the back door, and I think it was 10th out at the stripe. So it was definitely a really good race. I went and chat with him a little bit afterwards. It was pretty cool. But yeah, that basically ended our weekend. So on to the next thing for the car. We're gonna put this thing back in race car mode, put the hood exit back on it, pull the interior out of it, and get ready to go fast with it again. Unfortunately, here it is August. It was yesterday. It was like 89 degrees. I'm gonna wait for some cooler weather, and in the meantime, while we're waiting for the weather to get better, I don't want to go beat on the car, turn the thing up when, you know, I mean, let's be honest, this thing's a time bomb essentially at the power level we're going to push it to. So I'm going to wait for the air to be better. No sense in trying to go fast when the weather's working against us. In the meantime, I'm going to pull the intake manifold off, work on redesigning the plenum, and then put it on the dyno, do some testing with the intake manifold change, and do that kind of stuff. So check out our next episode in this playlist is going to be about that. It's probably going to be a week or 2, I'm guessing, before I have all that stuff done. But the video should be pretty cool. I'll talk about the intake manifold design. I'll show you the dyno graph and explain why I think it needs more plenum volume. And we'll get that stuff all in there, get it on the dyno, see what we can improve there. And then we will basically at that point be ready to go back to the track when the weather cools off. The DA here, for reference, the reason why I'm waiting for that, we get some significantly good weather, very good weather here in the fall. Very good being it's usually under sea level for DA. If you're familiar with what DA means, density altitude, so it's basically like at 3,000 feet a DA and at 0 at sea level for DA, right? There's a significant power difference there. Significant being, I would guess 3,000 to 0 is probably worth like 60 horsepower, something like that. And the turbocharged stuff just loves it. It doesn't have to work as hard to make the same amount of pressure, that kind of deal. So we're gonna wait for the better weather and the intake manifold swap. Then we're gonna go back to the track, turn this thing up to 11, and see if we can go an 830 with it. I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic, but we'll see what happens. It might, you know, lay pieces on the ground the first time. But anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna keep these videos coming to this car. We've got some other projects coming with this thing up the road. And yeah, that's it for this. So see you guys soon.